Creativity. This is our first interview of 2021, and I am so excited to be back with all of you. I've missed you, and thank you for joining me today. We have an incredible artist joining us today. His name is Michael Shemchuk, and everybody knows him as Shem. And he is going to join us any minute now, and I see that he's here, so I'm going to invite him in. And yes, so Shem, if you can hear me, just please accept it, and we're connecting now. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. My friend Wendy just joined, Nina from Mexico. All these people are joining us from all over the world. So thank you. Thank you. Mike, I guess we're going to call you Shem because everyone calls you Shem. But welcome to Tap Into Your Creativity. You are my first interview of 2021, and I am so excited to have you here today. The little that I know you, you are an incredible human being. You're so warm and you have so much knowledge, and I'm just so excited for you to be here. So welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and also for your project, for starting this Tap Your Creativity project. It's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So thank you for inviting me and having me today.
So Shem, let's start from the beginning. Where are you located? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my studio is in Northern California in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. It's actually very close to Berkeley. It's in a town called Albany, right next to Berkeley. And the studio, I built this studio about 21 years ago. When I bought this house, there was a little garage, and we tore that down and built my studio at the same time. So it's about 400 square feet, located in the Bay Area, and I've been working in this studio for the past 21 years.
Wow, that's really nice. I know that you grew up in the East Coast, and you moved around a lot. And so can you bring us back to your childhood, and how was your childhood? Were you always, interested in your art or artwork at all, or?
Well, okay, so it started when I was about 14 years old. I was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. I have 6 siblings, and so there's a wide spread there. And I have 2 older brothers that are my senior by about 10 years, 11 years, something like that. And so when I was about 10 years old, they still lived at home. And they were, and still are, incredible artists as far as drawing is concerned. And they did this without going to art school. It was just an innate talent that they had, both of them. And so I grew up around this, where they would, draw portraits of cousins and family members and all of that stuff, and do it really well without ever going to art school. And so this really influenced me a lot, but I realized at a very early age I did not have that skill. This was just an innate talent that they both had. And so that is what inspired me. So around 14 years old, I said, I want to be an artist. That's what I want to do. I was very enamored with the work that my brothers were doing with such ease. They did it so easily. I tried to do it, drawing, and I was terrible at it. I'm still terrible at it. I don't have that skill, which I could develop, I guess, but I just call it laziness or call it, I don't know. But at 14, I realized I wanted to do some sort of art. but I didn't know what that even meant. What am I going to do? I can,
Right.
you have to know how to draw to be an artist. That's what I thought, especially at 14. And so, you know, I didn't really pursue art that much at that point. I wrote poetry and I did little kind of, I used to put airplane models and paint them all very intricately. So that was really my first foray into any kind of creative process, was making models and little plastic models and all of that. So then, I joined the military at 17, and I really
You were really young.
I wanted to get out of Lowell, Massachusetts in a big way.
So you saw your ticket through the military?
Yes, I did. I didn't have any idea how to get out, so the military was the easiest option for me. And you know, I'm so happy I did that, even though it was during Vietnam and all of that. You know, when you're young like that, you really don't think of those kinds of consequences. You just
no kidding.
So I did, and so, you know, they sent me to basic training and all that stuff. And then my first duty station that they sent me. So I was a telephone installer in the military. That's what they taught me, and so I did that. So my first duty station was in Novato, California, at Hamilton Airfield, which is in Marin County, which is one of the most incredible counties in California, and it's an incredible place. So here I am, you know, now I'm 17, 18, and I'm in Northern California, and I'm on an Air Force base. And so I really enjoyed that, and that really influenced me and had a big impact on me, of being in San Francisco and just this area. I couldn't believe it. So I was at Hamilton for about a year. So that was 73. So in 74, I get shipped out to Chiang Mai, Thailand. And so I go to, so I'm there, and I'm in a remote detachment up in northern Thailand. This is during Vietnam. So
wow.
It's a war, kind of a war zone kind of place. And I mean, there's no tourists or anything like that. Let's put it that way. It's very
exactly.
It just borders, you know, Cambodia. And anyway, while I was there, again, now I'm 18, 19, and I still have the art bug, but I haven't really pursued it. I'm in the military, so, but I'm writing little poems and stuff like that, which, you know, that was sort of my outlet. So when I get to this detachment, I'm in this detachment where there was only 17 Americans up in northern Thailand. So it wasn't a big military installation or anything like that. It was literally living, you know, I had to rent a house and all of that stuff there. So I'm 19. I'm in northern Thailand, and I was the person I was replacing. So when you get sent forward to whatever duty you have, you replace somebody usually, and then they go on. And so the person I was replacing, I can't remember his name, but he as he was leaving, he goes, "Look, I have this camera. It was a big old beautiful Pentax." And he said, I'm not going to take it with me. So you want it? So I think I bought it for $100.
That was very generous.
Big old clunky, heavy. I mean, you know, you don't want to swing or, I mean, you could use that as a mace or something. It was just a big old heavy thing, with film, you know, and all of that. And so I bought it. And that was one of the first major changes in my life as far as pursuing art.
And you must have had a lot of content being on that side of the world and being able to see things not only from the military side, but now, you know, merging your artistic eye into it. So I'm sure you were able to produce incredible work from there.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I was still, as an artist or a creative person, I was still really naive. I still was not sure what even art was, as far as, I mean, let's put it this way. At that juncture, when I first got that camera at 19 years old, I was still not sure that famous photographers were artists. I thought they were just photographers. I didn't relate those two things. I just, oh, that's a photographer. And I kind of related photography as a commercial endeavor, not a fine art. And so I still wasn't, you know, but I was totally excited that I could create something with my eye now, through my eye, or, you know, as opposed to painting a picture. And now I realized, oh, you know, this is part of maybe how I can create something, is with my visual sense, my visual aesthetics. And
Yeah, but
so,
at that time, it's a very raw way of approaching it. And if you fast forward to now to see how you approach your paintings and how you approach abstract art, non-objective art, it has a connection. It definitely talks, you know, from your early years to now, and you're making that connection somehow because your paintings now have that raw freshness, intuitive way of asking the viewer to really entertain themselves. And I think that when you're young and you have that, you're blessed with it because you don't really know 100% what you're doing, but you're following, you know, your heart and you're just doing. And you have been able to keep that, which is super hard as an artist, I think, to be able to have that and apply it for so many years. And I believe that that's part of why you are so, you know, successful in the way that you approach art.
yeah, all of that, I think I agree with everything you've said. Uh, so to fast forward, you're right. I mean, this influenced me, as you know, holding a camera and looking through that little viewfinder made me see the world differently and made me see it on both a objective and subjective level. And so that changed the way I viewed things. Fast forward, I go through the military, all of that, and I get out. And the first thing I do, I kicked around a little bit in Arizona and stuff. And then I move right back to San Francisco. So now I'm in San Francisco and I'm out of the military, oh, maybe about a year, 8 months. And, you know, I get a little apartment. I go on unemployment. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I contact my congressman. I remember this day. And I ask if I can go to school on the GI Bill and if he can accelerate that process, because it's a long process. If you, as a vet, you go, okay, the GI Bill, which pays for your schooling, right? So I went, oh, I want to do this, but you know, there's kind of a long, drawn out process, and so there was the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and I wanted to go to that, but it was, you know, still kind of convoluted because of all the administrative stuff that has to happen. I remember, you know, we didn't have cell phones then. It was just a landline phone. And I contacted my congressman and asked him if he could accelerate it. And he did.
Wow.
And so they sent, and what they do is they just send your tuition to the school. You don't get any extra money or anything. It's just the tuition.
Yeah.
So I got signed up at the Academy of Art in San Francisco, and through the GI Bill, which is great. And so I went to school. I started classes in photography. And that was where I learned, you know, the Richard Avedons and the Irving Penns and all these incredible photographers were artists.
Yes.
I literally learned it then, right? And then I realized, oh, this is something I can embrace. And I did. I went through all the courses and all these different things. And then when I graduated, I worked for a lot of photographers, a lot of commercial photographers as a technician. And then I went to New York and worked in the fashion photography industry. I worked for Rebecca Blake, who's one of the premier woman fashion photographers.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool.
And back then, this was in 1980, 81. She was, you know, the top. Her, Sarah Moon, and Deborah Tuberville were the top fashion photographers in the world. And so I worked for her for about a year. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, working for her.
I'm sure you had to hustle.
That was a hard thing. It was fantastic, but it was difficult. So then I got kind of disillusioned with all of that fashion world and all of that. This really is quite plastic to me anyway. And so I moved back to San Francisco, and I worked for this one photographer for a little bit, and he photographed mainly food products. And so it was very technical and lighting and all that stuff. And so I ran his studio for about a year and kicked around with that. And then I got married. And when I got married, my wife and I moved down to a cattle ranch down in Pescadero, California. And we lived there for 4 years, and it was remote, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and it was 2,500 acres, and we were caretakers of the house, absentee owner. And I built a little dark room there, and there was an old chicken coop, and I converted that into a studio and started painting. That's where I started, like, just painting. Everything I've done in my life as far as art is all self-taught.
Which is incredible, except for the photography part of it.
The photography was the technical stuff.
Correct.
It taught me technical things.
Yes.
The Ansel Adams zone system and all this stuff. Yes, it did teach me that. And that helped me when I worked for all these photographers, because it was very technical stuff. And you had to know all this kind of technical stuff, which I'm not really that great at. But I got through that. But the aesthetic stuff, it taught me through art history that there weren't classes that taught you aesthetics. I mean, one class did teach me something profound in my life, and it was a portrait class of taking portraits of people. And so that was something that really made me realize the mind's eye of seeing something. And that was, taught me aesthetics. But all the other stuff was pretty much technical.
Yeah, I think that, if you let's just move a little bit forward now. So once you establish yourself, okay, I can actually paint. I can actually do more than that. Your wife is an interior designer, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you even did some faux finishes and paintings for architects, for designers, you got into that, that world, I guess, of painting in a way that you could also make money. Maybe it wasn't your passion at the time, but it definitely helped you get to where the next step, correct?
Exactly. That's what kept me connected. Yeah. So my wife and I were living on this cattle ranch, right? And I mean, it was in the middle of nowhere. If anybody knows, it was south of Half Moon Bay. And so we're like, well, we got to, still work and do something. We lived there rent free, which was fine, but we still had to make some kind of income. And so, back up just a second. I went to a trade school in lieu of a high school. I went to a vocational school. And what I studied was painting and decorating. And so that should give you an idea of what happens next is that we both decided, well, because faux finishing now was the rage at
right.
that. It was the rage.
Yes.
It was all Southwest look and stuff like that. And we thought, can we do this? Again, self-taught. We got this book. It was on finishes, and we started getting little jobs doing that stuff. And people would ask us, "Can you do that?" And we go, "Yeah, we can do it." We never did it, and we just would look at a book and go, "Okay, I think this is how we do it." And so
I always say getting out of your comfort zone and doing things that you never think that you can, and learning while you're doing them is the best way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because if you think, and if you would have sat there for a second and questioned yourself, oh, can I do this? Maybe you would have said, oh God, no. But you just went for it and learned as it was going, and you did it.
Absolutely. And another thing that happened from all that. So yeah, we did that, and we became very successful at doing this, right? We had a business, which we had for, I think it was 14 years now that we had that. And so with that, as we were doing it, we started learning things. That's where my wife, Kathy, started realizing she could, do sort of interior design. And again, self-taught, just by doing faux finishing, but looking at what designers were doing in these jobs we were kind of doing, and we'd work in restaurants and office buildings and all over the place. And Kathy picked up on that, and I picked up on, so these designers would have us, they would rely on us to mix all these colors for them.
Yeah.
That they're like, I want this color, it's aubergine, but it's not quite, purple aubergine. They'd give us all these details. And so we'd go back and we'd, through, alchemists or whatever, we'd mix these colors. And then we realized, both of us, after about 10 years doing this, wow, we really know about color. We know how to get what we want. So we became color consultants through that experience.
Incredible.
We never went to school for it or anything like that. We were fortunate that we were kind of embedded in the interior design industry, right? We networked, right, and we knew people. But yeah, that was just another thing that came, out of that was we started, billing ourselves out as color consultants, and we did really well. We were successful at it. And so we go through all of that, and then we moved to the Bay. We moved out of that ranch to the Bay Area, bought this place, and when Kathy got pregnant in 1998, we said no more faux. She couldn't do it anymore, Back then it was still all oil based. So I said I don't want to do it because we work really well together. Still a hard thing to work with your wife or your husband in a business. Not the easiest thing, but we're hard workers. So, okay, what are we going to do now? And I said, would you be okay? We got a baby on the way, our first and only one. Would you be okay, Kathy, if I, tried to do art and actually make art, and make that as my career going forward? She was 100% behind me, even though, we got a baby. We're really not that, we really are not that well off. Let's put it that way.
No, but she believed in you, and that's something to say. And you, from then on, you have been extremely successful because not only as an artist yourself, but now you have also become a teacher and a mentor to others. And, you're applying all your knowledge to, incredible communities of artists all over. And I think that you were halted pretty much, I would use that word, by the pandemic. You had all this workshops lined up, and it kind of stopped there for a second, and for all of us. And we're trying to reinvent ourselves and how to move forward and how to do things. And so I think that you are someone that inspires me. When I was introduced to your work, you have an incredible technique that you use that you're going to share with us, and you're going to take us on a studio tour right now, which I'm super excited about. I think that we should. Do you want to say a few more words before you take us on the tour?
Well, I kind of laid out the baseline of where I'm at right now. So self-taught, and so when I do teach, it's coming from that place of my own experiences as opposed to learning at some other place. So, I come through that pretty sincerely when I teach my workshops. Do you want to then now do the tour of the?
Yeah, let's do the tour of your studio, and then you're going to show us what you're working and the exciting news that we have for all of our audience that are watching and hopefully will buy some of your work today for Feeding America. Remember that Tap Into Your Creativity is all about helping each other, supporting artists, and working together as a community to help our community at large. And so 100% of the proceeds that we sell today go to Feeding America, which is more needed than any time in our lives. People are in such need of food and comfort and just help, that we need to help. And this is why I'm doing this. This is why you join me and my army of artists. So I can't wait till you guys see what Shem has for us in store. So why don't you show us around?
Yeah, and just on that note, I want to applaud you. The question or the statement you were saying was, we've all, with this pandemic, we've all been usurped from our normal routines of what we do. And what you are doing with a Tap Into Your Creativity is fantastic. And I applaud you for that. And I am thrilled to be a part of it. So I do hope your audience, buys some of my work for this very reason.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start giving you a tour, and as we tour, I'll explain what I'm doing. Okay.
Perfect.
Right.
And I just turned off comments so we can see better your artwork, and then I'll turn them back on for the last 10 minutes for questions. But this is great. So if you want to turn the camera around so we can see what you're looking at, and you can describe what we're seeing.
Okay. Well, I'll quickly just do the studio.
Perfect.
So you can see this is, and again, my studio is rather small. It's only about 400 square feet. But I got my tools, my liquid pigments, all my stuff.
Liquid pigments, do you mean that, are you still mixing your own paints?
I do mix my own paints, but these pigments are from any paint store. If you go to like a Kelly Moore or a Benjamin Moore, even maybe Home Depot, you might be able to find them. They're just the tinting colors that they use, the paint store uses to tint their paints. So I use these to deepen colors or make colors more brighter and that kind of thing. It's just it's not paint, but it's pigment. It's liquid pigment itself.
Okay. Do you mix that then with the actual acrylic paint, or do you add it to the water, or how do you use that?
You mix it directly with the paint.
Okay.
And also, one of the things that I've done in the past, I do actually teach it, but I don't really do it myself that much anymore, when I first made this transition, I worked with gypsum and paint, and that was my main medium. So I would mix gypsum with paint and then add these, these for colorant to the gypsum itself and the paint. I would lay that on panels, and that was
So for people that don't know what gypsum is, can you explain that?
When they hang sheetrock and they tape it with this sort of mud plaster kind of stuff, that's gypsum. It's taping compound. Yep. And so that was initially my first art that I did that kind of had paint, that dealt with paint. And I stopped doing that a while ago, now maybe 10 years now. Okay, so this is just my studio, all this stuff. And this is some work I'm doing right now, kind of minimal. I'm in this sort of minimal phase. Okay. And this is very poignant because this is kind of what I teach, that kind of thing. This is work on panel.
Where you teach your principles of abstract by design?
Yes, that's what this is right here. This is work on panel. It's paper and paint, and it's the principles of abstraction by design. And so this is, part of the workshop structure that, and this is kind of what we do.
Can you go in closer, Shem, so we can see the details on that?
Yeah. So you can see there's some paper in there, like those little pears or whatever they are. There's paint. That looks like out of a white pages. Paint, but the whole thing is paper. Even the base, you can see all that texture. Yeah. That's paper that's painted with silver on top. More paper, but so it's a combination of paint and paper that I do.
So those lines that you're showing us on the bottom remind me so much of Robert Motherwell. I don't know if you've seen his documentary, but the way that he used the line and the mark making in his small paintings, it just reminds me so much of it. And he was able to edit some of it, and he was a well-thinker painter. So he edited while he was, drawing, and I see a little bit of that in you. And it's all the mark making, all the layers that you have. It makes you move your eye throughout the whole painting and find the little pockets of light and curiosity, which is really fascinating, and it's really well done.
Thank you. I struggle with marks all the time. It's not my easiest thing to do. But with this process that I teach, and that I work at this myself, mark making with this process allows you to make marks directly on your piece, and if you don't particularly like them or they didn't come out right, you can get rid of them very quickly and start all over again. So that's, sometimes how these marks look okay. My big thing about marking is that I don't want it to look contrived. I want it to look organic and natural.
Right.
So that's the abstraction by design work. Okay. And then the newer work is, this is all paper, no paint, and all it's on paper. So it's not on panel. It's just work that's basically collage that has some painterly, almost kind of watercolor aspects to it. And that's what I've been working on the last, since 2018. I've been working on this process to try to master it. Really, it's not easy to control. Let's put it that way. So I'll go
and this this you call it the surface tension series, correct?
Yes. You can see there, it looks like there's watercolor.
Yeah, it's incredible, but it's all paper.
This is all paper. There's no paint, no ink. The only ink is, see that little black line there?
Yeah.
That's actual me brushing with a brush, putting on some black acrylic ink. But
So
that's
can
it.
you explain to us a little bit about how this surface tension process works?
Yes, yes. I'll show you in a sec. I just want to go through this so you see. You know, you get some incredible. I mean, that's just the stain on the
Yeah,
paper right there.
incredible. Again, they look like mark making, but it's, you know, and you are doing mark making, but with paper.
Yeah, I mean, this one here, yes, that's a piece of paper. That's a collage. The white paper with the lines on it.
Yeah.
That's actually, you know, a piece of paper that I put marks on that I cut out. You know, I just cut it out and attached it here as a collage work. So it has those marks. Now the line next to it, the one that's going up, that is literally right on the master sheet itself. So
Let me ask you, is there a rhyme and a reason to this, or is it more of a reaction and guttural reaction to it?
well, the ink marks I make before I even put any, I make them on a plain, the plain master sheet. So I don't even know where they're going to come out when I'm finished with it. I just make a bunch of marks, sometimes just with pencil.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a piece that just this piece here is still laying, you know, and by the way, these are all made horizontally. Okay.
Okay.
So the way I
Do you
make these,
do you do it? Do you lay them on the floor then? Do you make a place for them where you can add water and tension to them and
yes,
weight?
I make a kind of a very shallow trough.
Okay.
And I lay the sheet, a sheet of paper. Now the paper I use is this stuff here. This is Canson, you can see it,
Yeah.
mixed media.
Okay.
This happens to be 36 inches. Sometimes
Okay.
I use,
And
let's
that's
see.
the base, correct? That's
Yeah,
your
this
base.
is what I call the master sheet. It's like the full sheet. I think this
Correct.
piece here is about 68 inches long, and it's about 30,
6.
maybe 30 or 31 inches wide, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I cut it down a little bit, this
Okay.
one, but it's about 60, I think 68 inches long. So you can see, you know, it's fairly a large piece.
I
And so,
love how they merge with each other, and they're like bleeding from one to the next to the next, and that's what creates the whole piece to look as one.
yes, and so the part that is uncontrollable is that bleeding aspect. I mean,
Yeah.
I do a lot of experiments knowing what papers, what the color, because when you have like a piece of paper that's blue and then it bleeds, it doesn't necessarily bleed the blue that you see in the paper. It could
Right.
be more green blue or more red blue, or you know.
Yeah, it
So
could lose its yeah, for sure. And what are you using for it to bleed? Is it just water or medium, or what are you using?
just water. These are
Just water.
There's just, yeah, I really am a believer in very simple materials. I do not like to get complicated with a lot of different materials. So yeah, in fact, I'm even going more minimal, like this guy here. This is my newest work, and I really want to just stick with that minimal quality because I find it's the more difficult thing to do, the less is more cliche. You know, where this kind of work, I absolutely love it. It's very difficult to control, but that's part of the process that I enjoy mostly is that random, happy accident kind of thing that happens from just paper bleeding.
And you really have no control. So you have to really let go of that, which is sometimes as artists is very hard to let go of that control, you know, and just let it be.
I have some control. That's why I've been working at it for the last 2.5 years. I'm learning now. I don't want to completely control this, but I'm learning how to get more control of things, especially the bleeding part of it.
Okay.
And so,
and are you then, when you apply the water, then do you have to put a press or something on top of it so they all merge into one, or how is it compound all together?
when I first started, I used to put plexiglass sheets over the whole thing. And that's, you know, one way of doing it, but you have zero control over that because you just have to rely on the pressure. And then I would walk on it, you know, and put on even more pressure on this thing, which kind of squeezes the paper out. Now, when we wet this, it's not it's not big puddles. It's just saturated,
Right.
very, very saturated. So the paper, even the master sheet, which is this Canson thing.
Yeah.
So you know, I lay out a 72-inch long one of these, and then put papers on top, collage. Maybe I'll do my ink or my drawing with pencil. Then I put the collage papers on. Then I wet it, but I just like really saturate it so that, you know, paper just absorbs water like crazy. So it just becomes more spongy than anything. And then, now what I do is I put local pressure points as opposed to the whole thing. So I use visqueen, which is just plastic sheathing, and that creates kind of a vacuum. This is plastic sheathing right here. It's just this stuff here.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, you know, plastic sheets. So,
and it's that thick plastic.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be so thick, but yeah, it's got a thick plastic. It's like a plastic tarp, but you know, it's just that clear plastic. So I cut sections of that out, you know, 30 by 30, 12 by 12, whatever. Depending on where I put those, different things happen to, that's where you get more of this stuff, okay?
I see. Okay.
And then if you really lay it down and put a lot of pressure, you get this. This is actually right here, a bleed.
Oh, wow.
This isn't paper. This is just the color that came out of the paper that when it was wet. But I put a lot of pressure on this so that there was no air that went under it or anything like this. Is just air bubbles. All this stuff is just, this is all bleed, but it's just, you know, this is just air bubbles that's underneath the paper that's bleeding. That's why you get this stuff. So I didn't put a lot of pressure on this guy here.
Okay.
But this guy I put a lot of pressure on, and it just made the whole shape of the paper. This was the actual size of the paper right here. So, you know, that's what I'm starting to, you know, figure out is how to control some of this stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then once you have your the artwork done, then do you put it on a board, on a canvas, on a different paper? How do you move from this?
So when you wet paper, it crinkles and wrinkles and all of that stuff. So I have to iron it so that I have to smooth it down a little bit. So I do that a couple of times because it's not really texture. It's more like wrinkly or something like that. Anyway, I iron it. And then what I do, I curate from the masterpiece. I take, so I take a mat. This is an 8 by 10, 5 by 7 window mat. And then I go, okay, and so I start looking at it.
I love using those because you edit and it just transforms the whole painting and you know what works and what doesn't work. And
So
it is a fabulous way of even from there making that frame a bigger painting. So it informs you where to go next or just to edit that part or what works on that part.
yes, yes. But for purposes of myself and revenue stream and all of that as an artist, this is what I sell. I mean, I sell the large piece, but I've come to realize that these smaller pieces, I just really love a lot more. I love again, maybe going back to my minimalist sort of idea or sensibility. Um, See that right there, like you say, that would make a beautiful large painting.
Beautiful. I can
But
see it. Yeah.
making a large painting like that is not easy. That that is not an easy thing to do because when you're doing something smaller, you're kind of using your wrists to do stuff. When you do something large, you're using your whole arm.
Your whole body.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so it changes how you apply things.
Yes.
And so, making these kinds of larger paintings like that. But I agree. I mean, that would make a fabulously,
Yeah.
6 foot by 4 foot
Yes. That
painting.
would go perfect with your new minimalist series, by the way.
Absolutely. Yes. So anyway, I take the mat board. Here, so I'm going to have to plug in. Hold on.
Okay. And maybe we can even put it back on the pedestal so you
Yeah.
can.
So quickly to recap, I'll take a piece like this and, I'll start with a smaller mat and I can get, I don't know, a dozen, 15 pieces out of here that are all really, wonderful.
So I just want to tell you guys what Shem is doing for us today. He is not giving one or two or three, but 4 small paintings for Feeding America. Each one is $250. So if we sell 4 of his small paintings today, we will be making $1,000 for Feeding America. So Shem is going to send me some pictures of the final 4. But as you saw from that large piece, he is going to edit that and he is going to cut those out and there will be 4 pieces available. Shem, I think you need to switch your camera around so we can see you, but there we go. Like you saw, he is going to curate the 4 pieces that he is donating today. So not only he is an incredible artist, but so generous, and he wants to help so many people in need. So I ask you, please, please, please DM me or direct message Shem if you're interested in buying. Look at that. Look at how gorgeous that would be on your wall. So 4 pieces for $250 each. You guys, this cannot get any better than this. You will get amazing artwork and you will be helping so many people in need. I'm going to turn on comments right now for anyone who wants to ask questions for Shem. This will be a perfect time to start asking questions. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh God, it is gorgeous. It truly is. It is beyond.
So let me just reiterate that I will be, curating from this piece.
So my friend, my dear friend, Wendy, she already wants 1 and maybe 2. So we already sold maybe 1 or 2. So Wendy, thank you so much. And somebody else wants another piece. So my God, you guys are amazing. Please DM me. I will help you through the process. or help or DM Shem. And these are just incredible art that you can get, and you'll be helping with $250. You will be feeding 2,500 meals. So just think about this. This is just absolutely insane and incredible. Robin wants one too. Oh my God, I think we're good. I think we saw them all. Shem, I would love to see your face now.
Okay.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so, so much. This is incredible. I have goosebumps right now. I don't even know what to say. I'm just overwhelmed with the generosity of all of you. And I think we have more people than art, but we will maybe make this happen. Wendy just said, I hope that I'm Shem. Yes, you are. You are a delight. Generous in any way, shape, or form. I can't thank you enough, Shem, for your insights, your incredible story, for your service to this country, for just being this incredible teacher, mentor, you know, opening your studio doors today for all of us. And I really can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you, and thank all of you who, you know, tuned in. I appreciate that as well, and for you know, purchasing the work for this cause. I think it's fantastic, and I'm thrilled that we sold it out pretty darn quick, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I am just so, you know, and this is why I do this, because we are helping so many in need, and people are getting amazing artwork in return. And so it is working together. It's not I, but we. And, you know, starting 2021 with our best foot forward. There's so much noise out there, and there's so much that can be negative, and we just need to stay on the path of learning, listening, you know, getting ourselves out of our comfort zone and growing, and just really being there for each other. And you know, just being a nice human being will take us all so far. And so I can't say enough about my army of artists. Each one of you are incredible individuals that have brought so much joy and education and love into my world. So thank you, Shem, so, so much.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of it, and thank you for inviting me. And yes, going forward is, I think, going to be 2021 is, I think, going to have some surprises for us, good surprises. So I'm
100%. So stay tuned, because there's things coming in the works, and not ready to talk about it yet, but really cool, incredible projects are in the works. So thank you all for joining us today, and I will see you next Saturday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.